G'day, Peter Kimball from Hal Bowman. So we're just going to go through how recruitment works and what you need to know. So today we're going to just be looking at how to assess an offer. So how to evaluate an offer of employment, sorry. So look, any offer, regardless of what it is, if it's employment, to buy a car, whatever, it's made up of 3 universal currencies. So the first one of these currencies obviously is time. So basically, you exchange, with respect to employment, you exchange your time for access to other currencies within this. So one of those is resources. So for money as an example. So the absolute simplest way of looking at an offer would be, how much time does it take you to earn X amount of dollars? And so like if you're working 25 hours a week to earn 100K versus 50 hours a week to earn 100K, obviously, if that's the only metric you're looking at, then the 25 hours for 100K is the better offer, right? So the second of the 3 universal currencies is resources. So if we just go through that really quickly. So I think the mistake here would be to only look at an offer based on based on salary. And so the type of resources that are available to you when accepting an offer, it was made up of significantly more than that. And depending on what stage you are in your career, the resources are going to be more or less important. So, with respect to training, if you're starting out in your career, this might be really important. The first 3 to 5 years, really, some might argue 7, is all about basically building up your skill base building up your skill base effectively. And so in the first 7 years of your career, training should be one of the primary considerations when you're looking at resources. But when you get late, maybe potentially if you get further on in your career, like if you're 15, 20 years in, then you just you may not care so much about training because you've got other ways of getting access to that. So the next one on this is just team structure and workflow. So I do think that regardless of what level you are within your career, the team structure and workflow is incredibly important. So, if we compare some pretty basic examples, so pooled resources versus, not unpooled resources. I'm not really sure what the term is for that. So there'll be, within accounting firms, for example, there will be, and within commerce as well, like there'll be businesses that have pooled resources and there are businesses that don't. And so in the example of pooled resources, basically, like if you're starting out in your career and there's not clear reporting lines and it's hard for you to work out what work needs to get done because you've got 8 different partners telling you their work is the most important, you end up spending a lot of your time just figuring out what work to do rather than actually doing the work. And so that can cause problems. But if there's really clear if it's really clear what the priorities are, then obviously that changes. That makes it a little bit better. But I think for a lot of people, the pooled resources can be challenging. But equally, some businesses swear by it and think it's great. So and there are some people that do perform quite well in those teams. And then obviously the workflow. Again, like if you've got however many partners telling you that just sending you work to do and you don't know what work is the priority, then that becomes really challenging. And now if you compare that to, say, reporting into the one person, then it becomes really clear, like these are the priorities, especially when you're starting out in your career, like these are the priorities for me today. And so the amount of time, like that team structure and workflow can affect significantly the amount of time that you're spending actually doing the work, the amount of time you're spending improving as to use accounting as an example, as an accountant. Like if you've got a really good team structure, excellent workflow, and you're starting out in your career and basically just turn up, get the work done, and there's no internal politics going on, then you might be spending 37.5 hours a week doing the work, getting better at the job, compared to the person maybe in a different team structure, an ineffective team structure. They may spend 10 hours a week just figuring out what work to do and the other 27 and a half doing the work. So yeah, over the course of a month, you lose a week basically. So so that's an example. But then also within, like if you're more experienced, so let's say you're a manager, senior manager, and you're looking for a role, and you want to be a partner somewhere, like the team that you have helping you get the work done is super important. So we'll see it a lot where, like small accounting firms or small businesses, will, especially path to partnership stuff, will make the offer, we might offer a really excellent salary, right? And then, but they may not have the team structure to help support that person coming into the business. So ultimately what happens is, you get a manager, senior manager, moving across to say a 5 to 10 staff business that with only 1 or 2 accountants in the team, and they're managing $500 to $1 million in fees. All of a sudden, that manager is coming across basically to do the work of a senior accountant. They're not really coming across to grow that business unit. They're spending a lot of their time getting the work done. Where if you compare that, say, to a manager or senior manager that moves across to a team that has, or a business, that has an excellent team, like with between 5 and 10 people in that team getting the work done, then that person that's on the path of partnership will spend a lot more time growing the business and doing the value add stuff. So the team structure and workflow can have a huge impact on your ability to perform your role, but also to accelerate your career. Future career advancement opportunities, internal and external. So when I'm looking at a business, I'm just curious about this because, obviously within accounting firms, so I've recruited within commerce and professional services, but when we first got into recruiting into accounting firms, it was really, really hard to know, which businesses are good. Like it's impossible. If you don't actually spend a bit of time looking at it, compared to say commerce, where it's like, okay, well, FMCG retail, they're 10 to 50, there's probably 50 plus businesses within FMCG as an example. You know that, like if somebody, as an example, is a commercial analyst at Pepsi, they're probably going to be able to do okay in a commercial analyst role at Woolworths or Coles or something. Like they're probably, they understand the products, etc. Whereas within, and it's going to come down to their technical ability, blah 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 blah. So within and how they present to the business, etc. But within accounting firms, there is so much variability from firm to firm around the quality of work that each firm does compared to other firms. And so when we first started getting into recruiting into accounting firms, that's what we would look at. I would look at all the basically any firm that we would be recruiting for. I would look at where the people went after they left that firm, but then also where the people came from into that firm, because that tells you much more about the accounting firm than the size, etc. So when you're looking at career advancement opportunities, they're obviously internal and external. So let's say, for example, you're an intermediate accountant, 3 years experience or 2 years experience, and you're looking to move from one 20 staff accounting firm to, say, you've got 3 offers and they're all from mid-tier accounting firms. There are better and worse offers within that. So like if you're an intermediate and you're joining a firm that has, 12 seniors and 1 intermediate, then it's pretty unlikely you're going to get promoted to a senior accountant in the next, or you might actually get promoted, but it's pretty unlikely you'll end up performing the role of a senior accountant. You'll just basically get paid a little bit more to do the job of intermediate. Whereas if you join the same person joins a business where there's 8 intermediates and 4 seniors and a supervisor and a manager or whatever, then you can see that internally there's the next role for you is there within that business. It's still going to be really competitive. You're competing against 8 people to get that next role, but there is a bit of a structure there. And then the third option might be similar sort of structure, but just fewer seniors and It's just going to come down to the competitiveness of getting that next opportunity. So on that metric, like the business that we would recommend the person go to would be the second business, because there is that next career opportunity internally, but also there's sufficient people above that person to get good feedback on their work, etc., etc. But then if you add another layer, which is external opportunity, one of those businesses might be significantly worse than the other. So if you think about accounting firms, if you're moving into a role that's very specialised, there might be awesome internal opportunities, but there may be very few external opportunities. So that's something that you really need to consider. And what is the cost of each decision you're making? So so I've probably spoken around that for longer than I'd like. But so it's really important to really consider what your internal opportunities are when you join a business, but then also what external opportunities are available to you and what's that worth to you. Salary and bonuses. This is I think where most people assign far too much weight to this, in my opinion. So most businesses are probably going to offer within 10% error, like 10% of each other, okay, based on the experience level. And so we will see it all the time where somebody will end up accepting a role in a business because they've paid an extra 5K, but that person is going to move into a role that's highly specialised in a business where there's no career advancement opportunities. And so, you're getting paid 5K extra now, but the person that accepts a role in the business with better career advancement opportunities on 5K less is going to be worth 20K more in 18 months. So, they're the things that you've really got to consider, and it's really hard to know this stuff if you don't know it, right? If you've just been working in accounting and you haven't really spent much time looking at the whatever it is, 6,000 accounting firms there are in Australia, 6,000 plus probably, then how do you know which one's going to be better or worse? And then add the next level of complexity to that, which is if you're dealing with multiple recruiters, each recruiter is just going to tell you, is really going to, assuming they know what they're talking about, is just going to really emphasise the benefits of one over the other. Whereas if you're only working with the one recruiter, the incentive is not there for the recruiter to, I don't want to say mislead, but the incentive for the recruiter changes from I need to place this person to I need to get this person the best possible job, because if the recruiter has a choice of placing you in 3 different places, they want you to go to the one that you're going to stay the longest and you're going to progress the quickest. Whereas if you've got those same 3 offers through 3 different recruiters, each of those recruiters are going to have different incentives at that point in time. So you just put yourself in a position where you're getting sold a job and it's really hard to make a decision. So and then the final thing on this is just flexibility. So that really just does come down to the culture of the business that you're joining. And if you think about it like this, it's going to be very different depending on what stage of career you're at, right? Like if you're starting out in your career, then my honest opinion is you should not care about flexibility really, like unless you're a professional athlete or musician or something and you need to go practice. The goal should be to be in the office as much as possible and be learning as much as possible. Whereas as you get past sort of 5-7 years in your career, you're probably going to have other things happening in your life, right? Like the probability of having a family, all that sort of stuff is going to increase, and the flexibility will become increasingly important. And so, what we will see is, let's say somebody accepts a role in a business and they know that their personal circumstances might change in the next 12 to 18 months. They might accept a role in a business that has no flexibility whatsoever. They might have 2 offers, one from a business that is really flexible, and one business that's not flexible at all. The business that's not flexible might offer slightly more money than the business that is, and they end up going to the business that has very little flexibility. And then 12 months later, their personal circumstances change and they really need that flexibility. So it's, and then it becomes really hard to get that job, because the job that offers a lot of flexibility, because most businesses want to see how you work for 6 to 12 months before they say, yeah, I don't, just get the work done, we trust you. And so that trust is built up over 6 to 12 months. And if you're changing jobs at the point where you need them to trust you the most, then it just makes it really hard to get the best possible role. So, so that flexibility is super. If you think your personal circumstances are likely to change, like that flexibility becomes really, really important. And so, I don't want to harp on too much about the difference between recruiters at this point on this one, but the reality is, like, if you're if a recruiter, you really do need a recruiter in this instance to not be afraid of pushing too hard on this stuff with their hiring business, because what will happen is, let's say you're dealing with a recruiter that has 6 months experience and just desperate to make a placement to save their own job. They're going to be really nervous about asking these questions of a hiring business. But compare that, say, and they may just not know the information. Compare that, say, to somebody who's been in the market for 10 to 15 years plus. Firstly, they should know through experience, which businesses are good and bad to work for, which businesses are going to be the most flexible. They should already know that information. But if they don't know that information and they're not desperate to make a placement and all that sort of stuff, then they'll just ask the question, and because they don't want. I personally, like, I would much rather somebody say no to a job than no to a job with complete information than yes to a job with incomplete information, because it's much easier to, personally, there'll be recruiters that disagree with this, but I think it's just much easier to get someone the job that they want than get put somebody in a job that's not going to work out because you've misled them. So you just do stitch in time saves 9, as they say. So just do the job properly the first time. So hopefully you got something out of that. Look, we're always keen to speak with people, and from our point of view, the most important thing is just finding the person the best possible role. So always happy to speak with people, and thanks for watching.